Welcome back to Marvel Maniac and MCU Aftershow. I'm Eric, aka Mr. Honest, your host, and today we're diving into episode 4 of Loki Season 2, The Heart of the TVA. This is the episode where the stakes hit an all-time high, to say the least. Victor Timely finally arrives at the TVA, and things do not go the way anyone hoped. Let's just get into it, because that was a pretty big moment right there, and it's kind of traumatizing. I'm not gonna lie. There were some disturbing moments in this episode, I could say, at the very least. So first off, what a gut punch of an ending. You know, we spend the entire episode building up to Victor Timely being the guy who could save the TVA, and then he's spaghettified. OB was not lying. Did you know people turn into spaghetti when they get sucked into a black hole? I don't know if that was technically a black hole, the destruction of the multiverse. It's kind of crazy to think there is a point for all our Marvel heroes getting spaghettified all at once without any reason, and we don't know how are they going to move forward. This is the most cliffhanger ending you could have with 2 episodes left, for real. I mean, 1 second he who remains, Victor Timely, he's walking out there, and then the next he's just gone. The TVA, Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, everyone was betting it all on Timely. And Sylvie was like just convinced to join the cause, like finally. Watching that hope disappear in an instant was brutal, and all any of them could do was really look at the oncoming wave of power and what that would inevitably do to them. Oh, so yeah, that's the heavy part. That's like, it almost feels like a loss, because Victor Timely is very likable. He's stuttering, and I love that. Props to Jonathan Majors, because he really does bring a good variety to these Kang variants. All the ones that we saw, from Ant-Man to Loki to the post-credit scenes of Ant-Man to this, they do really set up Kang. I hope we do get a Kang story eventually, because I'm interested to see how they'll pivot out of this series. But we're going to stay on point in this episode. And as for Timely, Victor Timely, now listen, I'm not sure how many of you have seen the show. I know there's first-time listeners. This is Marvel, okay? And they knew exactly what they were doing. It'll make sense later. There are 2 episodes left. You know that. I know that. But this is a pretty traumatic moment at the time. It's devastating. And maybe later we'll look back at it as a little more lighthearted. But for now, devastating. Trauma first, humor later. That's Marvel. So let's go break it down a little bit deeper here. Victor Timely's arrival at the TVA. Again, Jonathan Majors gives Timely this awkward charm, and you could see Mobius and Loki clinging to that hope. The TVA is literally falling apart, and they're all desperate for a win. And all the characters at the very end, well, right until the very end, they have hope, and they put their faith in Timely. Okay, and did anyone else feel like they were wasting so much precious time in this episode? There's all this discussion and moving from room to room and debating the next steps while the loom is melting down. The biggest example is Victor Timely saying, Coco. Amazing. That's literally, I love that. But yeah, that's part of the tension, but it's also frustrating because you just want someone to take action. If you know where this is going at all, you want someone to just get this done. I just love the character dynamics, and they all kind of go off each other really well. Mobius is steady as ever. Loki's trying to hold it all together, and Sylvie, well, she's still struggling to trust anyone. She definitely takes the longest to get on board here, because I think she kind of regrets killing He Who Remains personally in season 1 after seeing everything that's going on and the choices that were laid in front of her. However, I don't think she has as much control of that as she even thinks. You know, I that's all I'll say on that. But let's move to that quiet conversation between Sylvie and Loki near the elevator where Loki gets pruned. I think that was a good moment. But then there's a moment they have in front of the pies, and I just can't help but wonder again, do they have like 4 different areas, dessert, breakfast, lunch, dinner? Like, where is all the other food at the TVA? What are they eating aside from pie? Is this someone's favorite Is this just He Who Remains' favorite food? Like, if you work at the TVA, is all you know pie? I know that whoever's working on the show, they'll just say, we wanted all the green pie in the background to be aesthetically pleasing and like very TVA. But what else are they eating? And I don't think anyone has enough space in their fridge just for pie. All right, we need all sorts of stuff. I'm gonna get over this. This is definitely a big guy question. I don't think it's gonna be answered though. Sylvie's she wants to burn the TVA down, and then once she realizes what the TVA is doing, she's kind of in it with Loki, and Loki so purely wants to save it. It's a classic push and pull. And one of my favorite moments is Sylvie saying to Loki in the pie section, it feels like we're playing with God, like with the role of gods, and I don't like doing that. And Loki says we are gods, and that's true in this show. I mean, everyone has their own religion. I don't follow the Loki religion, but in this universe, absolutely, they're gods. OB and the TVA crew. OB is a treasure, okay? I love how he's just constantly working through impossible science problems while everyone else is panicking. And that little OB timely scientist connection, golden. And more wasting time in their introduction. And Timely is like a fan of OB, and OB knows Timely. And there's this just Ouroboros thing going around where did the TVA start? Where does it end? Where did it begin? And that's kind of part of the fun of this show, just even wondering that. So let's talk about the MCU's impact from this episode and predictions. The whole multiverse was destroyed. Everyone died. Victor Timely's death, it really does change everything. They lost one person they thought could stabilize the loom. And now the TVA's fate is just completely up in the air. Again, like, this was the biggest cliffhanger I think they've ever delivered. And the moment, I just have to go to this part. I don't like this part that much. They go really dark here. Miss Minutes, we see crazy eyes. And last week, I forgot to talk about, I know something that's going to make you really mad. Ravonna Renslayer sees that she led the army to put He Who Remains in place in the multiversal war. So likely Renslayer has slaughtered some Avengers, and that's crazy. And he just has everyone's memories removed. And once she finds that out, we see Renslayer go back to the TVA, and she wants to get the TVA guards on her side. They're all being held prisoner, but it's not going to work out that way. And then this is Miss Minutes laughing and smiling, pretty much. She's smiling, not laughing, but with evil eyes, when Renslayer puts that box that they use in the early episode on Brad, and they squish 15 people to death. That is brutal. They're killing people off in this episode brutally. This episode makes it crystal clear. Loki is the key. And we see how that plays out in the next two episodes. But I'm not going to... I really want to spoil it for you, but this is maybe the one episode where you're going to hear me say that a million times. It's hard sometimes to cover a show that you really love, that you've seen before, from my end. And I want to talk about the overall story, but we do have an episode. I don't know which number it is, but it's probably closer to this episode 80-ish, where we cover this whole season in a day. So if you're kind of looking for in an episode, so if you're looking for that kind of thing, you can go listen to that. But I want to leave these episodes maybe for people who are visiting for the first time, who are maybe watching along with Loki. What are your thoughts? MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Love your feedback. I really kind of like how they leave it on all hope is lost. What the living heck is going to happen next? I really like that a lot. And we also have to talk about how this connects to the bigger multiverse saga. Like I was saying, the TVA falling apart is a direct threat to every reality, even the main timeline. And if the loom fails, timelines unravel and more Kang variants will lurk. And this isn't just really a TVA problem. This is a multiverse problem. And we know we are in the Multiverse Saga. And if that post-credit scene to Ant-Man and the Wasp said anything, we're sure to get a follow-up on all of this. Well, maybe not. Maybe Loki Season 2 just happens to be the one show that has to change everything, because they were going off of the Kang Dynasty. This show was going off of Kang real early, and now the plan has changed. Robert Downey Jr. Is coming back to be Dr. Doom, and they said they had this idea way before Ant-Man even, so I don't know why they wouldn't change this, or maybe they changed it enough. All I know is I really want some answers and follow-up to the Kang stuff, even if they have to recast him at this point. And I don't like recasting, but with variants, that totally works. Before I wrap things up, this is a shorter episode. This is definitely a connector to the bigger finale, the final 2 episodes. So I'm not going to stretch this one out. We talked about Renslayer. We talked about the pie. We talked about relationships with Loki and Sylvie and Mobius. And Brad, I don't know if he gets back to his timeline. I think that was the last we see of him, though. And I think they might have just pruned him, is what I'm guessing. So yeah, that is Loki, Season 2, Episode 4, The Heart of the TVA. Victor Timely's tragic death, not so timely. The TVA left in chaos, and Loki's journey, well, he's heading into his most powerful stretch yet. Make sure you're subscribed, because we're staying on the Loki train and you won't want to miss what's next. If you'd like to support the show, patreon.com/Marvel Maniac. We have many minisodes going up weekly, Saturday mornings. And we have a wall of heroes for you to be put on, and they will remain in our episode description as long as you are a hero. And you are to me no matter what, really. But join us on patreon.com/Marvel Maniac. Building the community over there. It's a blast. You're going to love Michael. He makes the place worth staying. For our Friday episodes, we've been covering we are starting to cover the X-Men movies. And the next episode this Friday will be the second original X-Men. I think it's just called X-Men 2, X2. And I'm really excited for that. I had a lot of fun talking about the first X-Men, and it's really fun to see Hugh Jackman's origins. I also want to, again, promote my new podcast, Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. We're going through the books, then the movie, then the new series later on down the road. Jump on in if you're a Harry Potter fan. Similar formats and your favorite host. Until this Friday, Maniacs, Avengers, disassemble. I pointed my finger up in the air for that. Like I pointed at you. We're doing this.